Hey, Coach Jodia, and welcome again with me on the couch. This is actually episode 12, and like always, I am super looking forward to spending a bit of time with you here and share some of my thoughts. And in particular, today, my thoughts around building an innings. And this was a question that was asked to me by Coach Luch. He currently coaches at King Edward VII School, or CARES as it's known in these parts of the world. And I think he currently coaches the under 15A side there, and he asked me in particular how he as a coach can help his cricketers build an innings. And so even though this video might focus a little bit more towards the coaching side or from a coach's point of view, if you're a cricketer who's watching this, I'm sure you'll also get some value out of this, because maybe this will give you some ideas that you can take to your coach or just help you set up your next practice a little bit better. Okay, so here we go, right? So here's my thoughts on building an innings. So I think that what coaches often want to know and understand about this, and I might be a bit wrong, but this is my general sense, is that me as a coach, what is it that I can offer the player that would help them improve their ability to perform out on the field, improve their ability to score runs, and hopefully, in my mind, through all sorts of situations. And so the first thing that I believe in, that when it comes to building an innings, is that there's no one way, there's no right way to go about this. Even for an individual cricketer, at times there's no step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 way that can work effectively through all situations, in all environments, in all challenges. And so for me, the key when it comes to building an innings isn't so much have I got step 1, step 2, step 3 figured out. It's got more to do with, do I know my process? And for me, the primary thing with process is to have that ability to become present, to be present in the moment to the situation, so that you can meet the demands of the situation. And the more you can do that, the better off you will be. Now, as a coach, if I want to help my players be more present, right, then I've got to help them have the skills and the understanding of how to play all sorts of different moments as they arrive in a game. Because if I'm not ready for a specific moment, maybe it's a specific type of bowler, maybe it's a specific type of wicket, maybe it's a specific type of game situation, like we might be chasing a target or setting a target. So if I'm not ready for that, I'll be dragged out of the moment. Where if I'm really ready for that, and if I feel I'm prepared for that, then I can engage with that moment more deeply. And so to me, that's the challenge that we as coaches face, is to create those different environments and scenarios at practice, so that when the player walks out onto the field, they can really just be present in that moment and really just engage with it so that they can perform at their best. So I'll give you a quick little example, right? So many cricketers I know, so many batters I know, when they get into the 40s, right, they become nervous for the 50, or when they get into the 90s, they become nervous for the 100. So call it milestone mindset, right? I've just made that up right now. I've never spoken about this before like this, but so it's milestone mindset, where when you get close to a milestone, you start panicking, freaking out, or you because you get taken out the moment, right? Because the milestone is in the future. Right now, I've just entered the 40s, or I just entered the 90s. 100 is still 9, 8, 10 runs away. So I'm starting to live in the future a little bit, and because you live in the future, boom, it affects your performance. Now, for some cricketers, this might even happen when they got 10 already. They had 10 and they think, yo, I feel really well today. I think I'm going to score big. And so boom, straight away into the future, you're not in the moment. And so as a coach, I actually don't know a lot of coaches who say, right, let's practice in the 40s, or we practice in the 90s. Right? So that's like a scenario that can play out. And so if you create that practice for your player, you can engage with them, you can provide feedback, they can experience it, and you can rewind the tape and go back, rewind forward. And so they got to work their way to that milestone. And in that way, we're preparing them to actually go past that milestone effectively and easily. So the next thing is potentially like facing a certain skill. So maybe they're facing a spin bowler or a swing bowler or a seamer or a guy who gets a bit more bounce, or the wicket stays a bit low. And so if we can find ways for them to practice that, then and help them on that path figure out exactly what they're going to do in those moments, how they're going to adjust their plans. Maybe it's chasing a certain score, right? How do you bat at 2 and over, 4 and over, 6 and 8 over, 10 and over, 12 and over? How are you going to get 20 off and over? And so the more as coaches we can challenge our players through all these different scenarios and all these different facets of the game, the better they'll be prepared come the time for them to actually play out that their innings during that sort of a time out there in the middle. And so every batter, right, will have their own processes. Every batter will have their own way of being present and engaging with the moment a little bit more. There could be things, right? There could be things like, if I really just focus on playing straight, then that helps me. If I get into the 20s, I shift my mindset a little bit like this, and then that helps me. If I get into the, once I'm in and I need to manipulate the ball around, or when a spinner comes on, I need to, just hit long off and long on, whatever it might be. There could be little technical things like that, or strategical things like that can benefit a cricketer and help a cricketer. But I believe that building an innings isn't like building this brick wall behind me necessarily. It's not necessarily always start at the bottom. Some days guys walk in and they're flying out the gate. Other days they walk in and they're stuck at the bottom in their foundation for a very long time. And then once they're really in, boom, all of a sudden they can jump to the top. Another day you walk in and you're more just in the middle of your innings and you're kind of just floating around there because that's all that's needed. So it isn't necessarily every innings is built from the ground up. I think that's a bit of an old school mentality that I always start at the bottom and I've got to build my way up. So in a nutshell, I think that for cricketers to have a real ability to build an innings, they need these 3 things, right? So they need an awareness, and so you can help them gain that awareness by creating all those different scenarios for them so that they're aware of what's happening and what they need to do in order to succeed at a given task or challenge out there on the field. They need an adaptability of mindset, of skill set, of game plan. And so again, by practicing scenarios, by setting up little things where they can practice small components of their game, they'll gain that ability to have the adaptability. And then lastly, I think what they need is a real ability to then execute those things. And again, by setting those scenarios, you're actually practicing that, you're helping them practice the execution part of it. So yeah, I don't know. This might not be the sort of information that you'd want to hear. I don't know, but that's my sense of building an innings. And like always, I hope there's some value in this video for you. So please, if a mate of yours needs this, comment, tag them below. If you've got questions for me to answer, like I've answered Coach Luch's question today, then please feel free to send me a message either through my Instagram or Facebook, or by commenting below this video on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you might see it. Yeah, and lastly, please subscribe to YouTube. I'd really appreciate that. And other than that, I hope you have a great day.